everyone, and welcome back to our Golden 20s. My name is Tegan, and I'm joined with my co-host Sadie.
Hi.
And we are here to celebrate the end of our first year of podcasting.
Yay!
And to kick off season 2.
Yeah.
So end of season 1, heading into season 2, year 2. So we're going to do some reflections on basically why we started the podcast, what we're hoping for the future, and reintroduce ourselves because we have some new listeners.
Yeah, we definitely do. And I feel like we haven't done just like a light, chatty episode in a while. You know, we're always like, let's work on this, let's work on that, let's have a guest to talk about this. Where today it should just be like, you know, just a feel good episode.
Yeah, relax.
Relax, just us gals or whoever you are hanging out, us friends hanging out, just having some chats. However, that being said, I do think we should kick off this episode with a Tuesday tip just so people can take something away from it rather than just, you know, what to expect from season 2 and our reflections and all that.
Yeah. Well, as far as my tip goes, it's kind of related to what you were just saying, which is to be okay with taking it easy. And this is something that I'm trying to teach myself because like it's easy, I feel like, to get sucked into a rabbit hole of seeing what life is like on Instagram and seeing your friends making moves and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But this is just a reminder that we are still in a pandemic. It's okay if things have been on hold in your life for over 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's fine. It's okay that you're just surviving.
Yeah.
It's okay to take it easy.
Totally. Especially in the winter months. Like, I feel like it's hard anytime. Like, I saw on Instagram actually right before we started recording, it was like, oh, it was Dude with the sign. And the sign was like, it's cold is a reason to cancel. And I'm like, yeah, literally, like, it's okay to just not do anything for the winter and like hibernate, you know what I mean? Especially like heading into February, which is often like the worst month of the year, I feel like, in Canada, where you're like, okay, I'm over winter, but it's still here and only getting worse.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that tip. And honestly, I don't think we can ever remind people of this too much, you know, because it's like constantly, we're still in a pandemic. Like, don't forget that. Yeah. Be easy or go easy on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. My tip is something that I just like realized for myself. So if you don't know, I live alone. So that means I eat all my meals on my own. And I recently discovered that probably for the past 2 years of living in a pandemic and spending so much time alone, I eat literally every meal in front of a screen.
Right.
My breakfast I make and then take into my desk and eat it while I'm replying to emails in the morning. My lunch, I often turn on an episode of Sex and the City or YouTube video. And then my dinner, I eat watching Netflix like after work. And I don't know. I feel like New Year, like you kind of get like, I don't know, setting like goals and like just being mindful of like certain things in your life, especially if it's like fitness related, nutrition related, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, if I was actually like mindful of what I was eating, maybe I wouldn't eat as much. Maybe I'd remember what I ate. And you'll just find maybe that you're like actually get full, you know what I mean? Because you're like actually processing what you're eating and whatnot. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And I've started making an effort to eat at least one meal a day, like not in front of a screen. And I find like lunch is nice because it's that like screen-free break in the middle of my day. But just something I wanted to surface in case it resonated with anybody. And it's a little change that I feel like you can make in your day and see like good results from or like benefits from.
Yeah, I love that. Especially like the winter hibernation months.
Yeah.
There's not a lot to do but look at screens.
Exactly.
So sometimes you need a reminder.
Yeah. And like the last few weeks, especially, my screen time has been through the roof. Like higher than it's ever been before. I think part of that is because I've been like super into TikTok, which I'm so behind on, I know. But I spend so much time on TikTok now. And yeah, my screen time is just through the roof. So I'm like, I need to intentionally carve out time to not be on a screen. And while I'm eating is a great time to do that. Yeah.
So, time for the main chunk of episode.
Yeah.
So, I think we're going to start with a reflection just overall of the podcast because it's been a year, which is crazy to think about. It seems like a lot longer to me. And I think of the time of us coming up with the idea for this podcast. I feel like I was so much younger then, but I don't know why. It just feels like
this has been part of your identity forever, kind of thing?
Well, yeah, or it's like it was a time when I thought I had the energy to do creative projects. I don't know. It just feels like a lot of changes have happened for then, like in my life, and it's just weird.
Yeah. No, I definitely understand that. I feel that way too. And I also think this is just going to be a great time. Like, I feel we're always talking about celebrating your wins and like taking time to like enjoy where you're at rather than just like focused on where you're going and, you know, that kind of thing. So that's what we're doing. And we're doing it with you guys because of you guys is why we show up every single week with a new episode. So yeah, I feel like this will be good.
So way back in episode 1, which for our listeners, I'm sorry if you had to listen to that.
Oh man, listening to it back, like it was just us giggling the whole time.
We were having a ball.
Yeah, we were. And I think I said like every other word.
Yeah.
It was listening back, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that's what I actually sound like in conversation.
I don't think so.
I didn't think so either. And I was like, why was it so bad?
I think we were nervous. Yeah. But the other thing I've noticed, which our listeners won't notice because I edit it, is when we record over Zoom or Google Meet or Facebook, whatever we decide, we say and like and stutter our words way more, like probably 3 times as more than when we record in person. So it's like we are naturally better speakers when we're just speaking to each other, not when we're speaking to our screens.
Yeah.
So it does make sense. But
yeah, and it's more conversational.
Yeah.
Also, like the whole lag and internet connection.
I think that's part of the problem is that I find that I start a lot of my sentences with but I think that I'm doing it unintentionally so that if you're starting a sentence, I'm not stepping on it.
Yeah.
But
that makes sense.
Anyways.
Yeah. I feel like that's actually really great and this is kind of part of my highlight and fave moment, which we will get to in a minute. But Tegan and I have done this pretty much virtually this entire time. We just started recording together in person, I don't even know, a few months ago.
Yeah, it's only been, I think, maybe like 3 or 4 episodes we've done in person. Yeah.
And we do like once a month, like not every episode. Right now we're together in person. We thought this would be a good one to do together. But typically, we're doing the Zoom meeting thing to record this and then Tegan edits it all. So yeah, it was like your cousins or aunts or something thought we recorded every week together.
Yeah.
I wish we did.
Someone yesterday asked me, they were like, so do you go to Sadie's house? Because it sounds great there. And I was like, oh no, it's on Zoom. And they were like, oh.
Yeah.
I guess it's weird. Yeah. Like it's not a traditional podcast, but that's what happens when you start a podcast in a pandemic.
I was just going to say it's a pandemic business to a T, 100%. Yes. But anyways, going back to that first episode, February 2021, we set some goals for what we wanted out of this podcast. So, Tag, do you want to just remind us what your goals were for the podcast?
So the first thing I said was I wanted to find listeners who are people who don't know us in real life, which was something that we achieved pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Surprisingly to me, but we did that.
Like, in fact, I think I should pull it up, but we have like 45%, like almost half of our listeners are in the US now. And we're obviously here in Canada. When it was all Canadians, we're like, these are probably just our friends and family. But now we have like listeners from all around the world. So shout out to you guys for making us feel cool, I guess, but also for helping us achieve that goal.
Yeah. Well, and even like through the social media, like we can see people who follow us or people who DM us. And obviously, like at the beginning, it was all just friends and family. And it's been like slowly skewing away from that, which is good because obviously it's lovely that our friends and family listen to us. But it's also nice to know that we have been able to like help people who aren't listening to us just because they feel obligated to do so.
Exactly. Yes,
yeah.
100%.
I also wanted to be there for people who are alone right now, which how nice of me. And be able to bring forward voices who may not have a platform currently, which I don't know if we've really achieved. It's kind of been the opposite where the guests we've had on have had a platform.
Yeah.
And we're just bringing them to our listeners because we think our listeners, like it's almost the opposite.
Yeah.
So we're not, I don't know why it's phrased that way, but I don't know. I think in my original vision, it was more so like talking to people who weren't like influencers or media people, that kind of thing.
Right.
But realistically, that doesn't make sense. Like it makes sense to have people on a podcast who have podcasting experience and that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I also think like having a following kind of leads to credibility a little bit. Like I know that's maybe not everybody would agree with that, but when we're like finding guests and whatever, we're like, oh, they have a decent following. They have like an established website, you know, like they have programs that they offer people. So of course they have a platform and customers or, you know, people who followers, I guess.
Yeah.
So that makes us feel more comfortable that like, yeah, they know what they're talking about. Like, they can educate all these people. Of course they can educate our listeners as well. So yeah, it is kind of an interesting one.
Part of it, I think, is that my priorities change. So obviously in the planning of this podcast, my priority was to, you know, bring forward voices who may not have a voice. But once we had actual listeners, my priority shifts to bringing the listeners content that I think is helpful and enjoyable.
Love it.
And so it's,
yeah,
that's going to change.
Yeah.
And that's what happened. And I think it was just the fact that we got listeners faster than I was expecting. And our niche kind of changed too as we kind of like found our own voices.
Yeah.
So I think that's what happened there. But I will not say I achieved that goal.
But we reworked it.
Yeah,
we refined
exactly.
it. Yeah. You achieved it in a roundabout way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think my biggest goal for the podcast was to really build a community of like-minded people. So, you know, I know like the whole kind of like girl gang idea is kind of like out and like, not a popular thing anymore, but and rightfully so, but still I wanted just like people to have a community where they could get advice, they could talk to like-minded people, they could rant, they could get, I think I already said get advice, but like actionable help, and we could learn from you guys as well. So that one I feel we started on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think, I don't know, honestly I feel there are ways that we can make this a little bit more interactive, and we do more of that on social media.
Right, yeah.
Which is a fun place to be, so follow us if you're not already. But I just want to maybe tap into that a little bit more in season 2. And I have some ideas which we will get into with what's to come for season 2, but that was a huge goal of mine, and I feel like we're slowly chipping away at it.
Yeah. Well, and that I think is harder than like getting someone to listen to us who doesn't know us. Like creating a community.
Totally.
That's a hard thing to do. Yeah. So I don't think it's necessarily a negative that we haven't gotten there. And I think we are making strides towards it.
Yes.
So
100%.
Yeah.
My other big goal was just to like hype people up and motivate them to live better, because these are like the types of chats I've always had with my friends. And I just wanted to, you know, bring that to other people. Like you said, Tag, especially people who were feeling isolated during the pandemic and whatnot. So I do feel like that was a win, and that's something we like try to do every single week. And we get DMs from you guys, which we love so much, saying, you know, giving us feedback or whatever, being like, oh, when you said this in the podcast, or even with my friends and family, they're like, oh, you said this and inspired me to do that.
Oh,
so I love that part of it. And I'm so glad we are, you know, succeeding on that. But yeah, I think that was pretty much it for my goals.
Yeah. I mean, kind of related to that as far as my maybe highlight of the year and of like the podcast overall has been, like you were saying, the like closeness it's brought me to the people in my life. Like now I have people who reach out to me that, you know, I'm friends with, but I maybe wouldn't be talking to as frequently as I am now because they're like, you inspired me to do this, or I heard you talk about this, so I looked into it. And yeah.
One of my friends, shout out to her, I feel she'll know who she is, but she listens to this like frequently, and I thought she just like was listening when we started just to like support, but just like the other day she texted me and was like, hey, I heard you're looking for a therapist, like that's one of your goals for the year, here's like some resources and stuff. And I was like, first of all, you still listen to the podcast? Second of all, like thank you so much. Like it definitely does create conversation with our friends, and it's obviously so nice that we have their support, but it's also just nice that it is something we can like bond over and whatever. So yeah, I love that. Another thing outside of our friends and family, a highlight of having this podcast for me, and I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again, is all the guests we've had on the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm somebody, you guys know this already, I'm like very like career focused, ambitious, whatever. So of course I love a good networking moment. And I honestly feel like the podcast has been like a networking tool for Tegan and I, just like reaching out to people I wouldn't have otherwise felt comfortable reaching out to. Like,
right. Or like, why would you have a reason to?
Yeah. Like you could.
Yeah.
Like, people are always like, if you ask somebody for a coffee chat, everybody will probably say yes. Like, even if they're like senior levels at companies or whatever, like people are often happy to like sit down and share their experience and like, you know, do like informal mentoring. And I believe that. But I'm like, I don't feel comfortable just reaching out to anybody and chatting with them. But this podcast has been a great excuse to do that. And we've met so many cool people, had so many just like knowledgeable, passionate people. And that is my favorite thing. Like, I feel that's even like one of the prompts on my like dating app, like dating profile is like, I just love passionate people. Like, I don't care what you're passionate about, but if you're passionate about something, like tell me about it. And I love that. So it's been so great just doing that. And I'm obsessed with all of our guests. I've told you this before. Like, I'm like, yes, we have an astrologer. I'm going to get a birth chart reading. Yes, we have a personal trainer. I'm going to do a fitness program. Like, and it's just so great. So that's been a highlight of this for me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And then just like a favorite moment, this is something I was kind of alluding to earlier, was that we were doing this just virtually, like recording virtually for the majority of the podcast so far. But I do remember, Tag, when you had your birthday party last summer. I feel that was the first time I saw you last year.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
Tegan's birthday's in June. And I feel like we just reached like 1,000 listens.
Yeah.
Right around
something
that
like
time.
That. Yeah.
So I went over to Tegan's house. We hung out in her backyard. Again, this is in June. We launched this podcast. We started working on it in January, launched it in February. So 6 months in, we were finally able to celebrate the launch of our podcast in person together, in addition to Tegan's birthday. And I just remember I did get insanely drunk because I just, you know.
I'm pretty sure everyone did, except for me. Somehow. This always happens. It's either like I'm blackout or I'm the sober one. I can never be in the middle.
Oh, man. I feel like you're often the sober one and I'm the blackout one every time we hang out. Not every time we hang out, but every time we drink. But it was just so fun. Like,
yeah, it was a fun day.
I just remember being like, we have so much to celebrate. Like, we also got our vaccine, like first dose. I don't know. Did you have your second dose by then? No, maybe not. Because it would have been beginning.
Not yet, but definitely my first one. And we had like the pool set up.
Yeah. It was so nice. I got a new bathing suit for the occasion.
Yeah, me too.
Like, it was so great. And I just remember being like, yes, life is good. We have a podcast.
It's all coming together.
Yeah.
I swear, this is unrelated, but kind of related. I swear I have the best birth date because it's exactly 6 months through the year. So it's great for like reflection and that kind of stuff. Love that. It was early enough that I was still in school to celebrate.
Right.
But late enough that it was warm. And like it usually, was like just at the start of summer. So people were hyped, but it wasn't too hot. So anyways, that's my rant about why being a Gemini is the best.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were in the pool. So
Yeah.
it was
like all day.
Yeah, it was really hot that day.
Yeah.
That was kind of actually...
I remember...
Did we celebrate right on your birthday? Or did we wait a few weeks?
I think it was around, but I remember May 24, I got sunburnt, like burnt to a crisp. So I think it had been hot for a while because that was why I bought a pool. Because for May 24, because I'm white trash, I just sat in a lawn chair with a sprinkler on my butt. And then I was like, okay, for my birthday, we got to level this up. So I bought a pool.
So good. Yeah. I think that was one of my favorite moments of the podcast.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Yeah. Okay, not to, be a buzzkill, but what were some of the lowlights and challenges that you faced the past year? Podcast related.
Yeah. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. The hardest part of podcasting, from my perspective, is the consistency of it.
Yeah.
Because like the number one rule that if you Google how to start a podcast, the number one thing you'll see is that you have to be consistent. You pick a day and you put it out. That's it.
Yeah.
But it's like in practice, that's a lot harder, especially like when things start to get busy or like you're trying to prioritize other stuff. And it's not that much work, but it's the finding the time to still prioritize it when you're excited about other things or, you're on vacation or whatever it is.
Yeah. And this is, I don't know if people like understand. If you have a side hustle or something, you might, but like sometimes just thinking about it takes up more energy than actually doing it.
Yeah.
Like thinking about
when am I going to edit the podcast?
Yeah. Thinking about like, oh, wait, what do we want to do for February episodes?
Yes.
Literally the recording of it is the easiest part.
Oh yeah.
And then obviously Tegan edits it and that's time consuming, planning things out, reaching out to guests, researching guests. Like that's the part that's time consuming and like hard. I don't know, hard to do. I would get burnt out just thinking about it. And that's what happened, I feel like, through the middle of last year.
Right, yeah,
It's just like, we haven't even
too much
done
mental
that much,
power.
But my brain was just constantly thinking about it.
Yeah. The second thing I'll say that I find hard is coming up with content that I think like our listeners would like to hear. Because it's one thing, I actually find that a lot of the episodes that I think will do well.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Do not do well at all.
Yes.
Whereas episodes, I'm like, no one will care about this. Like the episode I did with my mom and my grandma, I literally did just because I wanted to do it and it was easy. Like I was talking to my mom, what should I do this week? And she was like, well, why doesn't like grandma come up and we'll talk for 20 minutes? Like it's literally like a 20-minute episode.
Yes.
And it is our most listened. Like it's almost like double some of the other episodes.
Yeah. Exactly.
And like, what the hell?
Yeah. And it's like called like advice in your 20s. It's like that's what the whole podcast is about, people.
Yeah, if you love that episode, listen to the others, please. But I don't know. So it's just like that. So weird.
Oh my God. But girl, you don't understand. That is the life of like a content creator, social media manager. It's the TikToks that take you 5 seconds to film that pop off. It's not the ones that, you waited for the lighting to be great. You set up your tripod, you did your makeup. Like it's so frustrating. Even like on a brand marketing side, like I remember going into stores, just snapping some pictures and posting them, and those would get like hundreds of likes. But like a photo shoot image that like we were in studio for, like those would get nothing. And I was like, what the heck? Like, it doesn't make sense. It's so frustrating, but
so weird.
Yeah. And actually, that's one of my lowlights, sort of, or maybe more of a lesson learned, but is I put so much pressure on myself for things to be perfect. And like, I do this in every area of my life, but it's literally me just like putting so much pressure on myself.
Right.
And that never turns out good. So this is kind of jumping ahead. I'll get back to my lowlights and stuff, but lessons learned is it's okay just to enjoy it, not for everything to be perfectly planned and perfectly curated and like scripted and all this stuff. Like it's the times where you just like let loose, you show up with no plan. That's when you're like relatable and like it's more fun and funny, and you know, that's the content people relate to. So
yeah,
something I've learned. And yeah, anyway, going back, I guess, to the challenges and that whole putting pressure on myself, I think we have already talked about this, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. And if you want to know more, like, go listen to our 2021 reflections. But last year was like a really tough year for me, one of the toughest in a very long time. And it's not like I'm not blaming the podcast in any way, but I put so much pressure on myself to like show up perfectly, or
right.
to do all the things that I was saying in the podcast, or you know, I'm like telling people how to live their best life. That's what people talk to me about.
Yeah.
But yet I wasn't living my best life. So I feel like that was kind of a low light, because it just like resulted in like imposter syndrome, where I was like, I can give this advice, I know what to do, but I can't put it in practice in my own life, kind of thing. So again, not blaming the podcast, but I'm like, that's something moving forward I can't continue to do. Like, nobody cares. Like, nobody's putting that pressure on me. I'm literally doing it to myself, and that's unnecessary. So yeah, just a low light for me. And challenges. People are like, okay, how are they going to bounce back from that downer?
Yeah. I mean, as far as my lessons learned, I think kind of related to what I was saying about the consistency is that I need to be consistent with scheduling the time to do the stuff I need to do for the podcast. And this is kind of related to everything in my life outside of work, because work, I have to show up or else I'll get fired. But everything else, it's so easy to just like procrastinate.
Yeah.
And so usually I'm pretty good. Like usually I'll say like edit the podcast on a Sunday, but there are times when I'm like, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
And then
I'll get to it.
Yeah. And then it's like, what's the plan?
Yeah.
This comes out on Tuesday, but you know, that's life sometimes, creating content, but that's a lesson learned for sure.
And I think that's like so true, is like we really have no like nothing holding us accountable to doing this, besides obviously like you guys listening and whatever, but like we don't get paid for this. We don't you know.
Yeah, we were doing it solely because we like it. Yeah.
So to show up, like we have to motivate ourselves and find that discipline within. So it can definitely be very challenging.
Yeah. There have been a couple times where I'm like, okay, so let's run this through my mind. What happens if I just don't edit this? And it's like, well, do we just stop? Like eventually I'll have to tell Sadie, hey, the episode's not coming out. But then it's always like, no, that's worse than just like sitting down and doing it. But you need to remind yourself sometimes.
100%. Yeah. I think my last lesson learned, so I already talked about taking pressure off myself, but also just taking care of myself like better. And that's obviously my whole theme for the year, my year of wellness and whatever, is just prioritizing myself again. But I really fell off the idea of how take care of yourself before you can take care of others. So just something I learned. I feel like the things I did do last year that were like good, like would be something I'd tell people to do, like establish a routine, whatever. I did it for the wrong reasons, and it just wasn't fulfilling.
Right.
And by having that realization and like learning that lesson, now I'm like, okay, let's maybe just do things for me, not for advice on the podcast or whatever. And already I'm feeling like an internal shift, which is exactly what I want from 2022.
Yeah, so, that's awesome.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know if you guys know the movie Coach Carter. I was just saying to my sister, I watch this movie all the time when I'm on the downward like spiral, okay? And it always just lifts me up. But obviously, have you seen the movie before, Tay?
Like, was it a Disney movie?
Like, I don't think so. I don't know what
it's
about so old.
Is Hilary Duff in it? Am
no, okay, absolutely not.
I think I'm combining like Cadet Kelly and like all these movies. Okay. I have no idea.
Okay,
I couldn't
you should
even
watch
tell you.
Coach Carter. It's a basketball movie.
Yeah.
So I feel Tyrell would be into it.
Yeah.
But anyways, there's like this whole speech at the end, blah, blah, blah. It's the best speech ever. And as I'm like growing older, I'm like, wow, I actually understand what this like little quote was saying. But within this like monologue part of the line goes, as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. And I'm like, girl, that's all. Like, that's the whole reason I started this podcast, because I was like, yes, you know, these are conversations I'm having, like, not to be like, I'm a bright light, but like, you know, I was like, I feel good about this. And then as soon as I was like, okay, now it's like a chore to do it. And like, I'm doing this for other people. I lost that like light. So let's just take it back, you know?
Yeah. Take it easy.
Yeah.
It's like the people in your life who are the coolest are the people who aren't trying to be cool.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's
100%.
like, as soon as you're trying to be cool, that's when you become instantly uncool.
Yeah. So I'm sorry that you guys were listening to the last year of the podcast. It was just me trying extremely hard and it wasn't working.
Well,
just kidding.
I appreciate the new, authentic, not perfect Sadie we will get to see in season 2.
Yeah. More to come on that.
Yeah.
But speaking of what is to come for season 2, Tag, what are you excited about for the next year of our Golden 20s?
I'm excited for hopefully some more in-person recordings, because I don't know, I just find it a lot easier. Like, it's almost less mental energy.
Yeah.
I find that when I'm doing a recording virtually, it's like I spend the whole day going over my notes and thinking about this. Where for some reason when it's in person, my brain just isn't doing that, and I don't know why. But so I'm hoping,
because it's like going back to like conversation versus
exactly.
Zoom meeting.
Yeah, exactly. I probably prepare the same amount, but it just takes a lot less energy.
Yeah.
And it's more fun.
Yeah, it is. I wonder if people can tell what ones we record in person versus virtually. Because I feel when we're together in person, me especially, I talk so fast.
The energy is definitely up.
Yeah, exactly. I always think if you're somebody who listens to the podcast on like 2 times the speed or whatever, like, I probably just
I forgot people did that.
Sound like a chipmunk.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Anyway, were you going to say something else?
Well, just the other thing I'm looking forward to is more guests, because I feel like, obviously, like, as we get more listeners and more followers, it grants us access to more and more people as well.
Boost our confidence a little too.
Well, yeah, that helps. And so I feel like we have some good stuff coming down the pipeline, hopefully.
Yeah. And I feel like sometimes I'm like, well, what are we going to talk about? We've talked about everything. You know, like, we've talked about skincare. We've talked about body image. We've talked about meal planning. Like, but there's so many different, like, spins you can put on things. And there's just so many. I find people are, like, so niche these days, too, where you can literally find a coach or an expert for anything.
Yeah.
So definitely more guests to come, and, like, fresh takes and, like, spins on topics that we haven't dived into, ones we have already, but yeah, I think it'll be good.
Yeah, well, and I think even as we like continue to grow and learn, it'll be interesting to go back to topics that, like, I'm sure if I listen to some of our earlier episodes, some of the stuff I say I won't agree with anymore.
Yeah, true.
So
100%.
This could be interesting.
Yeah, and even talking, like, going back to our mental health episode, like, you know, I'm going to start talking to a therapist this year so I can actually, like, contribute more to that idea and that tip than I could before, you know, like, just kind of having different experiences we could bring.
Definitely.
Interesting. I agree with the more guest piece that we were just talking about. Also, going back to one of my main goals for the podcast being, you know, building a community. So I definitely want to make that more of a priority in season 2/year 2 as well. I have some ideas on how to, like, bring some more, like, interactive elements, I guess, mainly on social. If it's through giveaways, like we just did one of those in January, we gave away a book to a winner. So just things like that where we can give back to you guys a little bit more and engage in conversation outside of the actual podcast.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So if you have ideas too, let us know.
Yeah.
And also, like, the episodes, I feel we did a few of these, but where we ask you guys questions or we put something out for, like, the dating story one where you can, like, I want to say, like, give us submissions or something. That's not the right word, but still, I think it's fun to get you guys more involved. So I want to explore more ways to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, I feel this will be a fun part of the episode as well, where we just want to, obviously you guys know us, Mercedes and Tegan, in case you don't. I'm just kidding. But at the very beginning, or the very first episode, we did like a little game for you guys to get to know us.
Right.
So we're like, let's take this relationship to the next level. You know, we obviously spill our souls to you guys every single week, me especially. As I'm like, I'm someone who struggles to be vulnerable. And then I'm like, here's a rant and all my like deep, dark thoughts. But we thought we would just share with you guys some hot takes, quirky facts about us, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, Teg, do you want to start us off? This is also, we had no structure.
This
was just something
I feel like ours are very different. But I mean, it reflects what we're thinking. I was actually kind of hard. Like, I wanted to come up with like just some hot takes, and it'll be like, here are hot takes. But then I was like, I don't even know. Like,
I know.
I'm a very average person who probably agrees with a lot of things.
And I feel like that, like, it's often a thought in response to something.
Yeah.
When you see something and you're like, oh my God, I hate this. Oh my God, I love this. Like, it's in the moment versus sitting down and being like, what do I want to share with the world as a way for people to get to know me?
Yeah.
You come up blank. Like, yeah.
I
Ours
mean,
are very different though. It's kind of funny.
So my first hot take is starting strong, but I hate Ryan Reynolds. And I don't know why. I didn't have a reason, but the more I find out about him, I'm like, oh, that's probably why I hated him. Because I just find out more and more shit on him. And I'm like, yep, that checks out because he sucks. And so like I can't watch movies that he's in. I hate Deadpool. The only one I like is Just Friends because I'm convinced that that's just how Ryan Reynolds is in real life. And so I like seeing him
Is that the
suffer.
one where he's fat?
At the beginning, and then he becomes like rich, and he goes back to his hometown, but the girl still doesn't like him because now he's a douchebag. Yeah. So like anything he touches, like he did those Peloton ads, and then they failed.
And Peloton stocks going down.
And if you have been on Twitter, you see that they failed and they had to take down the ads, and I'm like, yeah, it's probably because Ryan Reynolds did them. It's his fault.
God, so funny. The funny thing is seeing you right now. You're just
I'm so angry
and passionate about this.
Yeah.
Also, I feel you've shared this with our listeners before, but I can't think of when or
it might be actually the first episode.
Oh my God, yeah.
I think it was like
Ryan Gosling or Ryan Reynolds.
Ryan Gosling's times 1,000.
So that we have evolved and grown and changed in some ways, but Tegan.
No, I still hate that guy. My hatred for him has grown since then because I found out more about him.
I'm laughing just because of how passionate you are. But like I said, people with passion, that's all I ask for. So if
that's the only one I have that's like pure hatred. The other ones are like jokey, but I had to get that off my chest.
That is so funny. I feel obviously Ryan Reynolds is Canadian, so this kind of goes nicely into my, I guess this is more of a quirky fact. Why was that hard to say? Now I'm just giggly. Oh God. This is a repeat of the first episode and I'm so sorry about that. Ryan Reynolds talk.
Yeah.
Giggling. Anyways. This is maybe, an unpopular opinion, but I love when books, movies, TV shows, anything like that makes a Canadian reference when the author is clearly not Canadian, typically American.
Yeah.
And like, I feel that's unpopular. I feel a lot of people are like cringe at it, but I laugh hysterically. Like, love it. Like How I Met Your Mother. Obviously, Robin is Canadian in the show, and there's so many Canadian jokes, but just like so many of them, like the stereotypes that aren't real. That's what I get like a kick out of.
Oh, I see.
Where I think a lot of people like hate that, but I'm just like, I find it so funny, and I think like if you're American. Which, hey, Americans, we know you're listening. We love you guys. We really do. But, like, if you're American watching How I Met Your Mother, you probably don't find the Canadian jokes funny because you're like, no, this is just true.
How it is.
Yeah, and I'm just, like, cracking up laughing. Or I was reading a book earlier this month, and they made, I don't know what it was, but, like, the scene was, like, this one character all of a sudden was going on, like, a rant about ringette. And the other characters are like paused and like looking at her like, what is she talking about? And she was like, oh, I grew up in Canada. And I was like, bitch, I grew up in Canada and I have no idea what the fuck ringette is. Like, I don't know. It's just one of the things that I find hysterical. The Santa Claus 3, when they turn the North Pole into Canada. Oh my God.
I have not watched that movie probably since it went to theaters.
It is just so ridiculous, and it's one of my favorite things. I don't know why, but
wow.
Yeah, I feel that's something probably nobody knows about me.
Yeah.
Probably my mom, because when we were watching Santa Claus 3, I was like, oh God, I love this shit.
Oh my God. Anyway. I tried to watch the Santa Claus 3. There was one year when Tyrell and I first started dating. He loves the Santa Claus. It's his favorite Christmas movie.
Yeah.
And he was like, we're going to stay up all night. We're going to play video games and we're going to watch all 3 Santa Claus movies. So we start off with the first one. Things are going great. I was playing the game Pajama Sam. Do you remember that game? It was on the computer.
Oh my God. With the socks?
Yes. Yeah. And he like collects.
Oh my God.
What's the word? Cereal box tops. He's like collecting these, and there's
My sister and I were just talking about this over Christmas, and then we were all of a sudden talking about all these other like computer games we had, but I almost forgot about that until she brought it up. So.
I got stuck on the same level I got stuck on at the age of like 6, so that's unfortunate. Anyways, we started out with the Santa Claus. Things are going great. We get to the Santa Claus 2. Things have kind of gone downhill, but you know, we're still having fun. We started the Santa Claus 3, and I think we got 10 minutes in, and I was like, I can't watch this.
It was as soon as it turned into Canada, you were like, shut it off. And I was like sitting on my couch and like, laughing. Mom, grab the popcorn.
Yeah. And that's the last time I attempted it.
That's so funny. Well, Tyrell and I are best friends because we both love the Santa Claus movies. Yeah. So I would gladly watch all of them with him.
They're making a series on Disney Plus. Yeah. Tim Allen.
Like a new thing?
No, like he's coming back as Santa Claus, I think.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That might be a little much, but
yeah, well, it can't be worse than the third one. So.
Okay. My hot take is that I love the Santa Claus movies, including the third one.
Oh God.
Anyways, next
hot take.
Hot take, yeah.
I mean, maybe I'll say this in reference to what you're saying. Actually, all of my hot takes are hateful. I don't know why I said they weren't.
Okay.
But I hate when books or TV shows or movies mention COVID. Because I'm like, I don't want to see that. Yeah. Get that out of here. I was just reading a book and they mentioned COVID constantly, but it wasn't like a part of the plot. It would just be like every once in a while they'd be like, and then there was talk on the news of a virus from China. And I was like, why are we bringing this up?
Yeah.
Like, I don't even understand.
Yeah.
So that bugs me.
I think it's hard to bring it up, like integrate it into a plot well. So it's like, don't even try it. And like, don't make it a side thing. Like, and also a lot of people like read and watch movies and TV shows as an escape from reality, especially right now when we're still in COVID. Like, maybe down the line when we're out of it, I don't even think we would want to relive it through a movie or something, but it might be like, look back on and be like, oh yeah, and like maybe you can appreciate it then, but even then I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know. Like there are sometimes, like in the new Sex and the City, sometimes they do things that work really well. Like in the newest episode, one of the characters was like, when's the last time you stood in line this long? And Carrie was like, oh, probably to get my vaccine. And I was like, oh, okay, that seems like a normal thing a person would say in the world. But then the other half of the time they're like, can you believe we're not wearing masks?
Yeah. And it's like those little things.
Yeah. Like, shut up.
Also, the fact they're like, COVID's over. And it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah. Like what?
Maybe if this came out in like 5 years when it's actually over.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
so weird.
I can understand that. I think I've mentioned this before. I think This Is Us did the COVID thing well.
I didn't even know they did.
Yeah.
COVID
things. Did. And I think like the 5th season was delayed because they like rewrote it. So to include it kind of thing or something like that. But I think they did it well. That might be another hot take. Maybe everybody disagrees with me, but I also just love This Is Us. So
yeah.
All mine are like things I love.
Oh my God, the duality.
Yeah. So this is another interesting thing. Maybe this is just me showing you guys how much of a loser I am because it's been a while since I've done that. But I honestly think, when people are like, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would you live? I honestly think I would live exactly where I do right now. Like, I love my life, even though I'm like, obviously living alone in pandemic, whatever. But I love my apartment. I love Toronto. I love how close I am to my family. I love how accessible it is to like other major cities, like my sister in Montreal. Like, I just love where I live, and I love to travel. Don't get me wrong, but I've never gone to another city, and I don't think I ever will, where I'm like, I could live here. I want to move here. Like, I love New York, but there's no way I would move to New York. Like, that's just not a dream. So yeah, that's something.
That's interesting. I was actually thinking about it today because I saw a TikTok from a girl who's like, my job is fully remote. So she just travels. She gets like an Airbnb for a month somewhere and will work from there and then get one for the next month and work from there. And I was like, I couldn't do that. But then I was like, maybe somebody who loved to travel, like maybe Sadie could do that. I don't know.
So I thought like, yeah, that would be the dream. And then even just going to my parents' house for a week or two.
Yeah.
Coming home, I'm like, I'm so happy to be home.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, literally, like, my bed is my happy place. That's another maybe hot take. Is like, just me laying in bed with my cat, like, at the end of a day, I'm like, there's literally no place I'd rather be. Like, not even in New York or like London or other cities that I love. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe random, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My
Tag, tell us what else you hate.
Yeah. Oh, I will. The next thing on my hate list is people who are late. And I don't mean like, yeah, you're late because there's traffic or you're late because you took the TTC and it's garbage. That's just life. But there are a couple people in my life who are chronically late and they think it's quirky and like a part of their personality. And that really grinds my gears because I just think it's rude. I don't know.
It is rude. I'm somebody, like, if you're 5 minutes late to like a meeting, I'm like, do you have no respect for my time? Like, you need to learn to respect other people. Like, I take it very personally, which is maybe a bad thing, but I get what you're saying is what I'm trying to say.
And like there's always like context for things, or if it's like, let's meet up and do this, like whatever. Yeah. But there are just certain people who are like, haha, we're always late. Yes. And then it's like, well, maybe that's a problem you need to work on then if you have identified it.
If you're aware of your lateness, that doesn't make it okay.
No.
Like, it makes it more annoying.
Yeah. And it's not funny.
No.
No. It drives you crazy. Yeah. See, now I'm just making you hateful.
Yeah. Yeah. But that is a good one. I don't think I know too many people who view it as like a quirky personality trait. In my experience, if it's like higher up managers or like something like that, and they're like, oh, I'm just so busy. And it's like, so you're going to just show up to this meeting late? Or the like HR girl at my last job, she would just skip meetings altogether and be like, oh my God, time got away from me today. And I was like, oh my God. I cannot deal with this. Like, I don't want to have any meetings with you because you might just waste my time. Like, no, this is not okay. Yeah. I always view it as a respect thing. I don't know.
Me too. Well, it's like, you're not respecting my time if you think it's okay to leave me sitting waiting for you for 10 minutes.
And every single time. And also, like, if you're someone, like you said, running late like once in a while, I get it. That happens to me too. Yeah. Or if you're running late and like send a message, also yeah, that's fine.
So different.
Yeah, but every other time, unacceptable.
No, I once had, this is now just a spiral of me becoming hateful, but I invited friends over for Canada Day because I used to live in a condo, and in Toronto there are big fireworks for Canada Day. So I was like, come over and we'll watch the fireworks from the roof. They were supposed to come over for like 5. Okay. Normal time, whatever. Fireworks were supposed to be at like 9 or something, like whenever it gets dark. They arrived in my lobby at 11 p.m. I was already in bed because I assumed they weren't coming.
Oh my God. No text, nothing.
No. And they were like, hey, we're here to watch the fireworks. And I was like, are you dumb? The fireworks are done. So I had to get out of bed, out of my PJs, get dressed, go talk to them and be like,
go home.
You missed it.
Yeah. That is not okay.
Yeah. So that's my rant.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you have people like that in your life.
Yeah. Not anymore.
Ooh, I like that. Okay. Yeah, we're really getting to know Tegan today. Love it. Okay, mine are literally so dumb compared to yours. Oh my god.
Mine are just me raging.
Okay, this is more of a like quirky thing, and maybe people will hate this about me, but if I buy something new, if it's I went to the mall and bought clothes, I bought makeup from Sephora, I bought a new snack at the grocery store I've never had before, as soon as I get it home, I have to try it. So a snack, it's like, I'm not even hungry, but I need to know what that snack tastes like. Like, obviously not like a full-on meal. I won't like, make that. But if it's a snack, quick, easy, yes. Another example, I once, like a few months ago, I bought this like face palette from Sephora where it was like a bronzer, blush, highlighter. Right. My first time like having face makeup. And I came home. I had a shower that night, but I was like, I'm going to do my whole fucking face makeup right now. It was like before dinner. I was starving, but I was like, this is number one priority right now. And I did it just to wash it off like half an hour later. Yeah. But it's just something, I don't know why. If I like clothing wise, usually I'll try things on again. Yeah. But I have to cut the tags off instantly. Oh. Like, this is mine. I don't know what it is. There might be something wrong with me, but that's something I think nobody knows about me.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Right? Another one. This is going to drive people nuts. But shampoo and conditioner is another one where when I'm running low on shampoo and conditioner, I'll go out buy. Usually I like switch up my shampoo and conditioner every time. Yeah. This just happened like last week. I'll get the new stuff home and I have to use it that night.
What?
So the ones that were running empty, I just like stop using them because I'm like, I have to try the new ones.
The heck?
Yeah. Maybe I'm a psychopath.
That's like OCD or something.
Is it?
I don't know.
That's not good. And like, I won't use it consistently. Like usually I'll go back and finish the other shampoo and conditioner, but I have to try the new one like right away. Like the next shower.
If it's a new brand, what if it's the same brand?
No. If it's the same brand, no.
You can use the old one.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes more sense. I've done that before. Okay. If it's like, but only if it's like, oh, this conditioner just is not doing it for me. Here's a new conditioner. I'm starting that one before I finish the other one. I thought you meant like you had half of like a conditioner left and you bought the same conditioner and then you're like, well, that one's in the wind now because I got this new one.
No, this is just something new.
That's why I was concerned.
Okay, no. Now we know that I am crazy, but
not that crazy.
Oh my goodness.
Another hot take I have.
I always get so excited now when you're like starting. I'm like, what's she gonna say now?
Yeah. I'm trying not to sound angry, but they're all angry.
I think me giggling in the background is lightening the mood.
We'll take it down.
It's hilarious.
Hot take. Being able to say, I'm not political means that you have the privilege in your life to not have to worry about politics when for a lot of people, politics is very important and can even be life or death.
Wow.
Hot take.
Yeah, that's a deep one. Mm-hmm. I mean, you do have a point. Yeah. I don't know if I've ever experienced me being like, I'm not political. Yeah. Like, interesting.
Yeah. Or even like,
yeah, no, it just shows
it depends
more, like,
on
ignorance than anything.
To like the context maybe, but there are some people who are like, well, it doesn't really matter. And it's like, well, for a lot of people,
it does.
It does.
Yeah. Interesting.
And so by you being able to be like, yeah, it doesn't really matter. Yeah. Or I don't vote. Oh, yeah. I don't, then it's like, well, that's because you have the privilege where politics don't affect you. Yeah. Or for a lot of people, they do.
Yeah.
Hot take.
Yeah. I feel like maybe that's just something I haven't thought about before. Like, and maybe that's my privilege. Like, or maybe it's just most of the people I surround myself with are very political.
Yeah. That's
like,
probably
and, like,
it.
Voice their opinions and everything. Yeah. So maybe that's it. But
there are some people who are like I know people in my life who don't vote because they're like, yeah, it's too hard to look it up and, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it's like, that's a privilege.
Yeah. Moral of the story, guys. You better fucking vote.
Yeah. You better.
I'm sorry if I'm dropping the F-bomb tonight. Maybe I don't know if I usually do.
You're right.
Yeah.
And your privilege.
Yes.
So do it. Oh, God.
Do you actually want me to say, like, my last one?
Sure.
After that? Because it's so stupid now.
No, it's fine.
All right. Okay. My last hot take, quirky fact is that dang, I cannot.
This
Peanut
sums
butter
up our
and
show.
jam is peanut butter and jam on crackers is the best snack.
Okay.
When is this not gonna be funny? Oh, I'm literally like bawling my eyes out. Okay, guys, for those of you who didn't get that, I have no idea how you're gonna edit that tag. My hot take is that peanut butter and jam on crackers, salted top saltines, is the best snack. I just found it so funny that that's my hot take. After goes in this lecture about voting.
It's the duality of the
truly.
podcast.
Anyways, just, cures the sweet and salty craving. It's fairly filling. I've ate it for a meal multiple times throughout my college days. And I feel like not everybody knows about it. So just wanted to put that out there. Oh my God. I'm so sorry that you guys had to see me that way. I'm glad you actually don't see me because like my eyes are watering to the high heavens. That was so funny for me. But that is it.
Oh.
Peanut butter and jam on crackers. Go try it.
This is maybe a quirky fact about me. I don't like jam. Like I don't get it.
Okay. That's fine.
I don't know. Like sometimes I try to have it like on a charcuterie board and I'm like, oh man. Yeah, this like it tastes like how I expect it to taste, but I just don't like it.
That's fine. Do you like fruit? Like
in general, yeah.
Okay. I feel like
I prefer fruit to vegetables.
Okay. I'm somebody who loves sweet things, so it's like jam. Yeah, like it's sweet, typically like the fruity kinds, but I don't know. I'm a jam person, hence why it made my my hot takes.
Peanut butter and Oreo cookies are also good.
Ooh.
Because it's sweet and salty.
Yeah.
Okay, my last hot take is that I don't believe that clothing has a gender.
Okay.
So
that's very 2022 of you.
Thank you. This all started because back in high school, I used to shop at American Apparel, and they don't gender their clothes. It's all just like one big store. And
I don't even know if they're around anymore.
Well, they went bankrupt because they did like a bunch of sketchy shit. But I think they're back, but it's like a different company that just bought the name. I don't know.
Gotcha.
But back in the day, American Apparel had quite the hold on me. And none of their clothing was gendered. And I was like, this just makes sense. Yeah. Because, like, who cares? Yeah. If you're, like, a boy who wants to wear a skirt, who cares? Or what I always find is that the shirts I want are in the men's section. And that's like, but who cares? Because clothing doesn't have a gender. Yeah. So why does it matter? Yeah. That's my last hot take.
I like that. I think that's becoming more, like, popular. Like,
Yeah.
That's good. I like that.
Yeah.
Great. Wow. That is so funny. I feel people learned something new about us, but also just saw the
real us.
Yeah, the real us, and also just how different Tegan and I are.
Yeah.
Which is why we created this podcast together, because it's like we wanted to bring like different perspectives and whatever.
Yeah.
So
we are similar in a lot of ways, but also different in a lot of ways. I feel like this is random, but I feel like we look similar.
Actually, yeah. You know, on your iPhone, like in your camera roll, it'll like circle someone's face and be like, who is this or whatever. Like it circled my face and your face like side by side in different photos. And I was like, we literally look the same.
Sometimes, it's weird.
It is weird.
I think as we get older, we start to morph into the same person. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Wow. All right. Yes, that was fun. Again, sorry for the giggle fit. I'm still recovering. I actually have an eyelash in my eye from my eyes watering so badly, but that was fun. Yeah, so we hope you guys enjoyed this little reflection with us on the last year of our Golden 20s podcast. Honestly, huge thank you to you guys for listening every single week. We see you. We love you. Thank you for following us on social. And if you're not currently following us on social, you still can.
Yeah.
Like I said, more like fun, interactive things to come, especially in the social world. So go follow us at our Golden 20s on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Pinterest. We'll also have Spotify playlists, and you can also join the real community, which is on the real one, which is on Patreon. So that's another thing actually that I didn't mention. I wanted to start doing even more exclusive content for our Patreon community in the new year. So definitely the best way to support the podcast, and lots of fun stuff coming for that. So all this being said, thank you again for listening, and we will see you guys next Tuesday.
Bye.